Just waiting for everyone to turn up. Okay. It's supposed to be summer here, but it's freezing. I just put on this woolly thing. Yeah, it's summer in Vancouver. Okay. Okay, am I on Facebook? Yeah, I think I am. Yep. Just waiting for people to turn up. It's one of my unscheduled lives, so I never know who's going to turn up to these. While we're waiting for people to turn up, I'd love to know where you're from. I'm here in Vancouver, Canada. So where are you from? I always have to say Canada because there's also a Vancouver in Washington State in the United States. So I thought it was a small town, but the other Vancouver is actually quite big too. Okay, so where are you from? What part of the world are you from? Knoxville, Tennessee. Knoxville. What's that famous for? I've heard a lot about Knoxville, but I don't know what it's famous for. Tennessee, Knoxville, Tennessee. Folsom, California here. Never heard of Folsom before. Folsom, California. Killeen, it must be Killeen. Killeen, Texas. I haven't heard of that either. Texas. I'm hoping to get to Texas, hopefully in the next year. Hoping to. Illinois. Gee, that's hard to read. Is that right? Illinois, capital ILL. Looks like 3 1s. Kentucky, Victoria, Australia. So Victoria is a state in Australia. So my kids were born and raised in Australia. Xenia, Ohio. Tucson, Arizona. Shasta Lake, California. I had a cat named Shasta. Maine, near Sacramento. That's that California one. Oh, okay. Lexington, Kentucky. Interesting. Okay, so thanks so much for sharing. Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. That's where my dad was from, on a farm near Saskatoon. And he grew up, well, he was born in 1922, so it was a very long time ago. Campbellsburg, Kentucky. Devine, Texas. Interesting. Tell you a quick story. My dad grew up on a farm back in like in the 20s, and they didn't have a toilet, or they had an outhouse. And it snowed so much there that in winter, they used to have to tie a rope around their waist just to go to the outhouse so they wouldn't get lost in the snowstorm. Imagine that, eh? California, Xenia. Oh, Xenia. Xenia. Okay. Okay, so let's get going. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach at Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Hi, Jennifer. Let's get going. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go on the link above, you can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can look into coaching. I have a wait list for coaching right now. So yeah, so let's get going with your questions if you have any, and I'll do my best to answer them. Jessica Berry. That's got to be a place. Jessica Berry. New Zealand. We used to ski in Queenstown, New Zealand, when we lived in Australia. It's beautiful down there. Okay, so this is from Manya on YouTube. Hi, my 2.5-year-old's hitting me. Not sure how to correct her. Also, she bites me. Hitting and biting. I actually have a mini course on that. You use consistent corrective actions. Every time they do that, you say no. The first time you say no, and you sort of push them away and kind of snub them a little bit, like you don't give them any attention. And then you try and prevent it every time after that, because they'll keep coming at you. So just prevent it after that. But yeah, it's physical. You don't use, you're hurting me, all that. They don't care. They don't understand that. So yeah. I've adopted one of two grandchildren. Mother is a narcissist. I worry, how do I do the best for the children? Okay. I don't teach grandmothering, but if you've actually adopted that child, so I teach parenting. But yeah, I don't know what to say to you because I don't know the situation. And I would never use the word narcissist with the kids. Like I would never badmouth the parent. And I would always say, you know what? The reason I have you is because your mom loves you. But not all parents can look after their children. So, we had to do what's best for you. And then just do the best to be a leader yourself and don't focus on the mother. Like what I mean is just focus on yourself and your leadership skills. Leadership kind of trumps a lot. It trumps, like if you're a leader for a child, it makes them feel safe. So it can take over for a lot of stuff that's happened in the past that's not great. So yeah, just focus on yourself and your relationship with that child. Don't focus on the negative in the past, focus on the positive and the future. Does that make any sense? Okay. Okay. How to make diaper change smoother, rolling, kicking, crying. Okay, this is something most kids go through. They just decide, hey, wait a minute, I don't want to lay here and do nothing. I'm going to try rolling like a crocodile and drive my parents nuts. So my kids didn't do that very often with me because they learned pretty quick that when I say I'm changing your diaper, it's going to get changed. So when you say you're going to do something, follow it up with action and don't let them take control. So I would just put my arm across their chest when they tried to roll, and I'd change them as fast as possible. And they didn't fight me for very long. They were more inclined to fight their father, who was more the pleaser. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like we all have different styles. So I was very much the leader. He was more the pleaser. He would try and get them toys. Do you want a toy? If I put you down, will you get a toy? Then I can change your diaper. He was trying to negotiate with a little one when they're trying to change their diaper. Yeah, whereas I wouldn't do that. They basically would just let me do it because they knew there's no point fighting with me. But they don't learn that right away. It takes a while. 18-month-old meltdown with transition and separation from mom. Yeah, that's right. Transitions, children don't do well with that. They don't do well with change. They might be right into something. Their brain is all focused on it. And then you change. It sort of throws them off a little bit. It just takes time. They're just growing. They're brand new, fresh human beings. I'm going to read my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Okay, these are my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Number 1, childproof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2, set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Number 3 is sugar. I hope I'm still here because I just got a message. Anyway, number 3 is enter their world to connect with them. You don't go to the nail salon with a toddler to connect with them. You go to the park and you roll down the hill with them. They just look at you differently when you enter their world. Watch how they play and join in. Number 4, when you want to discipline a toddler, you do so with consistent corrective actions. It takes repetition before they learn. They might even regress a bit, so you just got to go back, consistent corrective actions. They're not about words. These mini therapy sessions discussing all the big feelings and big emotions, it's absolute garbage. They're not about therapy sessions when they're toddlers. Okay, and same with kids as they get older too. They don't want to discuss all that stuff. If they do, you don't do so in the moment when they're being naughty. You wait till later on. They'll come to you okay, I'm not going to go off on a tangent. I can feel one coming on. Okay, number 5 is stop trying to figure them out. Toddlers are not figure outable. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They've got brand new brains, brand new bodies. They're just got one marble and some tumbleweed floating around in there. Okay, they're not figure outable. I always call them crazy. It's just that they haven't developed sanity yet. How do you handle repeat questions from a 4.5-year-old? So you answer it and they don't like the answer that you gave, or they just are doing it to annoy you? I would say I've already answered that. If you don't get off my back and you don't keep bothering me, there might be a consequence. So yeah. Or are they just asking a lot of questions? Say, okay, that's it. I don't know anymore. I would just shut it down if they're being annoying. Oh, I don't know if they're being annoying or naughty. There's a difference. Okay. Can you still gain the respect of an 11-year-old? Yeah, I specialize in teenagers. Is it hard work? You bet it is. But yeah, you can still get respect. You can always turn things around, but the older they get, the harder it gets. You might want to check out my boot camp course. It goes from 3 to 12 years old. Yeah, it's how to get respect, how to set yourself up as a leader. Remember, it's all about you, not your kids. It's about you and your leadership. You focus on what you're doing, not what they're doing. You be proactive, not reactive to kids. You think if they act out, think, gee, what am I doing wrong here? What am I doing wrong? How am I not being a leader for them? If you were a leader, they wouldn't act out. They don't have attitude when you're a leader. It's just the way it is. And they don't rebel when they're teenagers, if you're a leader. My son said he was 15. He says, I got nothing to rebel against. You're too reasonable and easy to talk to. He was kind of snarky when he said it. He wanted to rebel. He had nothing to rebel against. And I'm like, oh, that's too bad. Okay, bedtime battles with 4-year-old. Getting him to listen at bedtime for same. Okay. Check out my bedtime battles course. It's in the link above, and it's called Bedtime Battles. And it's all about how to get them in bed and then how to keep them there. Getting them in bed is easy. Keeping them there is usually the hard part. So check it out. I got lots of clients going through that right now. I think I had 3 clients go through it in one weekend. It was like I saw them all on a Friday, and they were all going to do it that night. And all 3 of them had success. So it's a hard thing to do, but it's short. It usually is a very quick turnaround. The bedtime battles. The worse the battle, it's usually one night of hell, by the way. The worse the battle, the better the outcome usually. Do you believe in oppositional defiance disorder? Believe in it? I don't know. It's not a real thing. It's not a medical diagnosis. That doctors have told me that ODD was invented just to make moms feel better and less guilty, which in other words absolves them of guilt, which absolves them of responsibility, which I think is a total disaster. If you absolve parents of responsibility, I think a lot of stuff is like that. You know, it's not your fault. He's got ODD. So I don't have to do anything now. Huge mistake. Oppositional defiance disorder. It's not a medical diagnosis. It just means you got a feisty kid. So you got to work on your leadership. What am I doing wrong? I don't know. Okay, joining for the first time from Iowa. Hello, Iowa. I was going to say hi, but it's like yesterday I said, hi, Ohio. Oh, hi, Iowa. Well, welcome. Yeah, I got a lot of new followers on Facebook. I think a couple of weeks ago, I got a lot of new followers on Facebook. You know, and I do want to say thank you. 2 weeks ago, I hit 1.2 million followers across social media. And then this week I hit 1.3 million. It's an extra 100,000 followers across my social media platforms. That's just mind-boggling to me. I can't even fathom that many people in a room. Like I can't fathom 100,000 people in a room, let alone 1.3 million. So I just want to thank you for your support. It means a lot to me. I've been doing this business now for 17 years. And 2.5 years ago, I went on TikTok and just blew up overnight. It just shocked me. I think people are really ready to hear what I'm saying because the please your parent style isn't working. And it was trendy for a very long time. And I think people realize maybe we want to change things. I teach leadership. Okay. New Zealand. Yeah, we used to ski in Queenstown. That's the South Island. New Zealand has 2 islands that I know of, 2 big main islands, the North and the South Island. And Queenstown is a little town down in the South Island. And we used to ski down there when we lived in Australia. It's just beautiful. It's just something about it. I don't know. You just feel like we were down there when 9/11 happened. And it was the weirdest thing. Most people there are European. And here I am a Canadian, but living in Australia. And I couldn't ski that day when 9/11 happened. But all these Europeans and Australians, they were all still skiing. Like it didn't affect them the same way, but a North American. It was the weirdest thing. There was me and an American man sitting in the bar all day. I didn't drink, but I mean, we're just sitting in the bar all day. We just were in shock. But all these other Europeans and Australians were all skiing all day. Isn't that interesting? It's when something hits closer to home. Not to say that they didn't think it was horrible, but I just remembered that. I thought, are we the only 2 that is upset by this here? Okay, 2-year-old on the spectrum, that would be autism ASD. Best way to keep her engaged in play. I can't really answer that because autism is more of a specialty. I only discuss that during coaching. So I can't give generalized answers to parents of children on the spectrum. Does that make sense? But you throw mud at the wall, see what hits, see what sticks. So you just keep trying different things. Look up, oh God, YouTube's great for activities for kids. So look up YouTube and say fun activities for kids. Don't look up on the spectrum necessarily, but just look up activities for kids. They've got way more ideas than I do. That's why I don't go on a lot about that. That's not my thing. Like I teach leadership, but when you want to look for activities for kids, go on YouTube. Joining from Arizona, welcome. I noticed that you use, okay, I get asked this a lot. It's from Emily. I noticed that you use chores as a consequence. Does this have a negative impact on children when they get older and they're expected to help out around the house? Who cares if they hate chores? That's okay. You want children to learn how to do the bad things. That it's okay to put a bad connotation on a chore. Most people don't like scrubbing the toilet or mopping the floor. I happen to love those things. I love cleaning. But yeah, don't worry about that. It's okay. Don't be the pleaser parent. Don't try and make everything fun for your children. That's a huge mistake. You want to teach children that, you know what, sometimes you have to do the hard things. So yeah, don't worry about that. Don't worry about putting a negative connotation on chores, because sometimes negatives are important for children to learn to accept. Do not be a pleaser parent. That's a huge mistake. Like trying to make everything fun, trying to put a positive spin on everything. They're going to go out in the real world, self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues, because not everything out there is fun. Okay? They got to learn. You got to pay your taxes, pay your mortgage, scrub your toilet. It's all things that you want to teach them when they're young. It's okay to do bad things. It's okay. That's part of life. I used to teach my children, you got to do what you need to do before you can do what you want to do. That's self-discipline. You got to do the hard stuff before you can relax and do the easy stuff and enjoy. You know what I'm saying? You got to earn that easy stuff. So yeah, that was a bit of a rant, but yeah, I get asked that a lot. Queenstown is a very magical wee place. Yeah, it is. There's something about it. I don't know. I just fell in love with it. And you know what I loved is we'd come down off the mountain at the end of the day. This is Queenstown, New Zealand. And we'd walk around Queenstown, and I'd love the apartments that were ground level and just looking in, and everyone kept their curtains open. And you look inside and they were just decorated so beautifully and just looked so homey. I don't know what it was. I just loved Queenstown. Okay. So I'm just scrolling because I want to make sure you're still here while I answer your question. I watched a video on not disciplining at bedtime, but in the morning. What age would you start implementing that? So bedtime routine starts at 2 years old. I have a whole course on that if you're interested. It's one of my mini toddler courses. And those courses, the mini toddler courses, are designed, they're niche courses. So they're not going to cover everything, because sometimes they'll get people who will buy a course on tantrums, then they'll ask about something else that has nothing to do with tantrums. They're only designed to target those specific issues, okay? I don't have any general toddler courses. I do have something coming up. But yeah, I'm not ready to announce that yet. But yeah, I don't have any general toddler courses. My big general course, my big course is the boot camp course, but that goes 3 to 12 years old. Oh, okay. Do you have a course on nonverbal? I don't know what you mean by that. Children who are nonverbal? No, I don't. That's really niche. I can't imagine how many people would buy that. Yeah, that's really niche down. Oh God, you're gonna hate me, Valentina. Honest question. How do you balance enforcing consequences and maintain being kind? This is kindness. This is kindness. Look at the pool story. It's a video I did. It's called Example of Leadership Parenting. This is kindness. This is 100% kindness, is teaching children how to be nice, teaching children how to be respectful. They're happy kids. Yeah. Yeah. Check out that, oh God, do I have the energy to tell that story? I've told that pool story so many times. I literally can't hear myself when I'm telling it. Yeah, look it up. It's a video. I think it's the very first video pinned. Or you can just look it up. Bratbusters Example of Leadership Parenting. And I know it is the first video on Instagram and TikTok. Yeah, so look, and it's the pool story. It encompasses everything that leadership parenting is all about. You deal with bad behavior and then you focus on the good kid. Kids who are acting out and being rude and disrespectful are miserable. They have very low self-esteem. Is it kind to allow them to be like that? No, it's mean. I think it's mean not to discipline children. Okay. Oh, I don't let people join me on here at all. I only did it once. Someone asked to join. I only did it once years ago. I was brand new to. I used to do a lot. Like started doing lives just on TikTok, and I did them every day for a couple of years. And I just started doing it, and everyone just came on really fast. I think some big person had shared my live. I guess they didn't like me. They never did it again. But I had like 26,000 people in one live, and I was brand new at it. And someone said, "Oh, can I join your video?" I didn't know what I was doing. I let them in, and they started talking about their business. They wanted my audience. I don't do that. That's why you don't see me collabing with people either. Yeah, you come here for my advice. You don't come here for me to get paid to collab with people and allow other people to sell to you. Yeah, just struck me as funny, and I didn't know how to get rid of them because I was new at this. So that's why I don't let anyone in. I only did it once 2 years ago, and I have not let anyone come in on a live since. So yeah, because then that just I was so upset when they did that. How can I start showing leadership, especially to my 9-year-old? You got to earn that. You got to earn respect. So check out my boot camp course. That's the best piece of advice I have. But you can look at my free behavior board first. Check it out. If you start getting some results with that, you might want to upgrade to the course, the boot camp course. It's a 5-week course. It has videos and written material. It also has a bunch of group coaching sessions with parents, and you can see what they're going through, pretty much what you're going through. It's all the same stuff. Often I'm coaching someone, and I think people don't tend to complain about themselves and their kids a lot in public. They're trying to pretend everything's wonderful, which I think is ludicrous. I raised my kids in Australia. We used to argue over who was the worst parent, and that was all very self-deprecating. I never felt any pressure in Australia. I noticed when I moved back here to Canada, because I had never parented in North America before. My kids were like, I think 10 and 15 when I moved back here. I noticed a huge difference. There was a lot of competition and trying to pretend that everything's great. It was sort of shame if you are struggling with parenting, whereas in Australia, not so much. It was a very different attitude there. So I think it's harder in North America in a lot of ways because you're almost embarrassed to admit you're having problems with parenting. But when you see other people on here asking all the questions that you have, you are not alone. Most people go through stuff with parenting. It's just part of it, right? It's part of life. So yeah, if you feel judged, just find different friends. I remember once I was in this parenting, there was a bunch of us parents around in Australia, and we were all laughing at something. And one of the moms said, "You think your kid's stupid? Wait till you hear what my kid did." And we were all laughing at all the crazy stuff our kids were doing. It was just it was just, I don't know, I just found it easy. I thought that was like what it was like here too in Canada. It wasn't until I moved back I realized it was a bit different, a bit more pressure. Yeah, we used to always try and fail each other, like laughing at what we were doing. So a lot of my clients, when they hire me, they'll say, "I'm just so embarrassed to admit this, but oh my God, I'm struggling with it." And I'm like, yeah, everybody does. It's almost like embarrassing or undercover. Which, I'm trying to open it up. Come on, parenting's hard work. It's the hardest job in the world with the least amount of training, and yet everyone expects you to be an expert, especially you. That is ludicrous. 100 years ago, parenting did come naturally. Do you know why? Well, for one thing, parents didn't feel any pressure. They'd spank their kids and say, "Go out and play." There just wasn't this pressure to be this wonderful parent. Plus, they had a village raising kids. There was multi-generational neighborhoods, houses, and all the neighbors knew all the kids. There was a village. You weren't doing it alone. So yeah. But nowadays, everyone's isolated and trying to pretend everything's great. Image is very important these days. And if you're going to look up parenting stuff to make yourself feel better, do not look up those Instagram pretty moms who everything's perfect. Look up funny mom fails. It's probably the best advice I can give you online. Look up funny mom fails, and you'll see you're not alone. Actually, I have to get going. I have to move over to Instagram now. Geez, I'm running late tonight. I don't know why. Anyway, I'm going to go over to Instagram now. If you want to join me over there, it's Bratbusters Parenting. If not, check out the link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can look into coaching. I have a wait list for coaching right now because I'm really busy, but you never know when I take someone on. So thanks so much for joining me, and I'm heading over to Instagram. I'm on YouTube the whole time, by the way. That's where all my lives are saved. Happy parenting. So I was going to go on Facebook again. I get out of it and then I go back in. I've done that before. I've done everything wrong before. Okay, am I on Instagram? Yes, pretty sure. Instagram and TikTok look exactly the same when you're doing a live, so it's hard to tell. Okay, this is from Manya on YouTube. My 2.5-year-old has a 4-month-old brother, and I'm looking for the best approach to prevent her from feeling jealous. Every time I read a book to him, she tries to take it away. Any suggestions? Just time. She'll eventually learn. Okay? No, just time. You can't expect a 2.5-year-old to understand a 4-month-old just came in and stole their parents away. So, yeah. Okay, welcome to my live. I was just talking to YouTube. That's where I save all my videos. Can't hear me. Can other people hear me? It should be okay. I just did Facebook and it was okay. And I'm on YouTube and it's working. So can everyone else hear me? Or is it just that one person who can't hear me? We can hear. Okay, good. So what was I going to say? Okay, my name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go on the link above, you can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can look into coaching. I do have a wait list for coaching because I'm really busy. Someone said the other day, you used to be able to sign up online for coaching. Yeah, I wasn't as busy back then. So that's why I have to sort of go through and see who I can take on. Anyway, so let's get going with your parenting questions. I'll do my best to answer them. And we're not going for perfection here. If you don't like what I'm saying, move on to someone else. If I'm not resonating with you, you're not going to do what I say. So don't waste your time watching me. Go on to someone else that you do feel that you resonate with. I would much rather that you move on and take action with someone else than just watch me and not take action. Because I want you to get results. That's why I'm here. I want you to have fun parenting. I don't just want you to raise nice people. Boring. I mean, that's good. That's what you want too, but I want you to have fun. Parenting was the most fun I ever had. I miss it. It was every single day, just laughter. I had a blast raising my kids. It was fun. Got all that pesky discipline out of the way when they were little, so they were self-disciplining, and we just sailed right through the teen years. Yes, there's the odd hiccup, but nothing big. Okay. Been using your methods, and it's been working like a charm. Excellent. I love hearing that. That's why I do this. But, I give the advice. You're the ones who do the work. So pat yourself on the back. 7-year-old has ADHD and ODD, but what's your question? ODD isn't a real thing, by the way. It's oppositional defiant disorder. Doctors invented that. This is what they told me anyway. We invented that just to make moms feel better. And I say, my response is, you mean absolve them of any responsibility of changing their children's behavior? I can't stand that. I can't stand that. It's not my fault he has ODD. I'm not going to do anything now. It was just invented to absolve parents of responsibility. God, I'm going to be in trouble for that one. That's okay. I don't mind. Okay. I can't believe more people don't come after me. Why on earth are people not arguing with me? I loved it. I first came online and on TikTok, and I got a lot of people fighting me, and I loved it. What do I do if my 7-year-old isn't afraid of the consequences? Up it. Find something that they're not afraid of, but something that they really don't want. There must be something that they like that you can take away. You always start with a positive action. If they won't do that, then you do the negative deprivation. Just find something that they don't like. Clean out the hair in their vacuum cleaner. Most kids wouldn't like doing that. If they won't do that, media blackout for 24 hours, or take away a favorite toy, or, there's always something. I was talking to a client today and they came up with something. They said, we can't figure out why on earth they would do that. And I knew exactly why the kid did this. And they said, but we were being so nice to them and this and that. And I said, yeah, here's what they're thinking. It's exactly what I can't remember if it was 3 or 4-year-old, exactly what they're thinking. The problem is that when you're trying to figure out your kids, you're thinking from your 30, 40, 50-year-old perspective, or 63-year-old. I don't do that at all. If I'm trying to figure out a kid, I instantly, and I've always been good at this, I instantly think, now, if I was 3 years old and that happened, and I didn't have a leader as a parent, what would I do? I'd do exactly what that kid did. You're trying to reason with your children, and you want them to find their inner adult when you're trying to discipline them. This is what a lot of parents get trapped in. This is the pleaser parent style. This is what they do. Use your words, which is so patronizing. Yeah, I always put myself in the kid's shoes to try and figure out why they did something. Then that's how I approach this. I always do that. Teenagers, and it's almost like I go into a trance. Let me see, a 7-year-old did that. That's a bit weird. Okay, if I was 7 and you did it, okay. So yeah, you got to think from their perspective. The problem is you're adults now and you're trying to reason from an adult brain and trying to make sense out of a 6-year-old brain or a 16-year-old brain. It doesn't work that way. So I'm scrolling ahead just to make sure you're still here while I'm answering your questions. And I don't purposely skip questions unless it's the same thing over and over again. What's a good consequence for 3.5-year-olds slapping you when you cannot remove yourself? Put down no hitting people on the behavior board. And there's a consequence every time they do. And you don't necessarily remove yourself. I would grab their hands and say no. And I would physically restrain them if they were hitting me. And then when everything's calmed down, I'd say, okay, here's the consequence. Check out the behavior board and put down no hurting other people or no hitting on there. There's got to be a consequence. We all learn through consequences. We don't learn through reasoning, right? We don't learn through, no, you don't do that. You shouldn't do that. Imagine if you're speeding down the freeway and you know you'd never get a ticket, but the policeman says to you as you drive by, please don't speed. You shouldn't speed. I'd just go, yeah, right, I'm going for it. Look, where's the consequence? We all learn through consequences. Teach your children that, and as adults, they'll be a lot easier to be around. Okay? Life's about consequences. That's why you pay your taxes. That's why you pay your mortgage, because you don't want to go to jail. You don't want the bank to foreclose on you, right? Everything's about consequences. Teach this to your children. I used to say to my kids, if you're good, life is good. If you're bad, life ain't so good. I'll make sure of that because I'm your mom, and that's my job, to teach them to be accountable and responsible for what they say and do. Would this work for a 20-month-old? Would what work? The behavior board starts at 3, by the way. Okay, my 9-year-old son is the oldest from his class, and when he starts making friends, he's charming and fun and interesting, but soon he gets bored and treats his friends rudely. That's a social lesson. His friends will usually teach him that. If it gets that bad, I would do role playing and pretend to be him and say, how would you feel if someone treated you like this? So yeah, that's usually a social lesson. His friends he'll end up with no friends and he'll learn to be nicer. Usually. But if it gets that bad, then I would do role playing at home. Okay, how many rows can you have on your consequence board? Okay, it's called a behavior board, and you do 3 of them, 1 per week. And there's 1 rule for every family member per week. So you'll end up with 1 rule for everybody. It's different for everybody, unless the kids are all about the same age and that. So the first behavior board has 1 rule and then consequences. The second one has another rule. Now you got 2 of them. It's a teaching tool. I would never use a behavior board. It's a teaching tool to teach you how to do this. You do not apply those consequences to anything else. Let's say your kids are doing 50 things wrong. This comes up every single day in coaching. Okay, now I know how to handle the hitting. What about everything else they're doing wrong? And I'm saying, so you're only focused on learning how to deal with 1 rule per week. And then the idea is by the time you start getting good at this, the other behaviors drop away organically. That's the idea behind all this. So yeah, you're just learning how to do this. I would deal with everything in day 1, but I know I'm level 10 with what I teach because I invented it, right? So, but yeah, you're just learning how to do this. You're learning how to put down a rule and a consequence and follow through. And you're on there too. That's what makes it different. That's what makes it work. Someone asked me a while ago, they said, how do you feel about other coaches starting to copy my stuff? I'm like, the more people teaching this, the better, okay? I invented this behavior board with parents on it. Now, if other people are teaching it now too, all the best to them. You know, that means it's getting out there, and I'm okay with that. I don't need to gatekeep this stuff. This is public information. I need help with lying. Lies about everything. If they're 3 and over, put no lying on the behavior board. Just call it what it is. It's lying. Say no lying. And then when they lie, there's a consequence. Example of a consequence. It's just do a chore, and you always time it. Do a chore within 15 minutes of being asked to do so. So clean the window within 15 minutes of being asked to do so. So that starts now. And then you don't say a word. It's their choice whether or not they do that. They've run away. They haven't done anything. And then you say, and the alarm goes off. You've said nothing. You're just a timekeeper. The alarm goes off. You go find them and you say, okay, you didn't do that. Now it's 24-hour media blackout. Do you understand? And then start the timer and make it happen. So I'm now getting all hot. Okay. Once you've said 24-hour media blackout because they chose not to do the first one, a lot of kids will, this is a trap parents get into all the time. The kid will run and go and do that chore, but the 15 minutes is up. And I would say to them, well, you don't have to do it now because the 24-hour media blackout happened. Not fair, not fair. That was your choice. Do not talk about it. Do not explain it. They already get it. Parents will often say how brilliant their children are, but then when it comes to this behavior board consequences, all of a sudden they're morons. Like, oh, they didn't understand. Yeah, they know what they're doing. They know that 15 minutes is up. They know that they've got 24-hour media blackout. Follow through. Do not explain yourself. The more you explain, the more they complain. Parents get caught in that trap all the time. But why? But why? You know why. Not fair, not fair. I hate you. Whatever. Like, there's no way I'd get pulled into that manipulative stuff. No way. No way. By the way, this is not really that interesting, I guess, but this is something that I deal with all the time in coaching. Parents are really good at this now. If they know me, they don't do this anymore, but they talk a lot about all the shame and the guilt that they have about stuff they've done in the past. I always say, I'm not a therapist. Therapists focus on the past. Coaches focus on the future. So I don't have any time for that. You can have all the guilt and shame you want, but if you fix up what you're doing, then you can just get rid of it anyway. So don't go down that path. It's not going to serve you. It actually gets in the way. I'm not saying you don't have guilt and shame. I'm not saying that, but what's the point? There's absolutely no point. So I say if you want to talk about all the stuff you've done wrong, go see a therapist. I don't do that. I want to send you in the right direction. I am solution-based. That's it. I get obsessed with it. I literally work up a sweat when I'm working with clients who aren't doing well and they're struggling with guilt and shame. I'm literally sweating, trying to... I told you, no guilt, no shame. It gets in the way. It's a roadblock. Let's move forward. Get rid of that roadblock. Let's move forward. It's not serving you. I'm not saying it's not a natural thing to have guilt and shame for the mistakes you've made in the past. It's not serving you, though. It's not going to help. It's going to make things worse. Plus, once you get better at all this, you start to feel great and proud of yourself, right? Anxiety in toddlers, is that a thing? And how do you deal with it? It's not really a thing usually. It's unusual for a toddler. That's under the age of 3 is a toddler to me. It's unusual for them to have OCD, stress, anxiety. It's unusual unless there's something really traumatic going on. But yeah, it is unusual. Their brains just don't tend to sit in one place for very long, which is what stress and anxiety is. Does that make sense? Their brains move on very quickly. But yeah, it's not the norm, but it can happen. It's rare. You once said spanking has long-lasting effect. Can you explain, please? Spanking has long. I don't know if I would have said that. I don't know if I would have said that. It doesn't sound like me. I could have, but it doesn't sound like something I would have said. I wonder that the context that would have been sitting in. Yeah, that doesn't sound like something I would have said. I could be wrong. I've been wrong lots of times, but yeah, I'm just going to let that one go because it doesn't sound in line with the way I usually talk. You know why? Generally, if I said that and I said yelling and spanking, I did do one of my very first viral video on TikTok was what yelling does to your children. And I talked about it. And it's one of my very first videos on TikTok. And you won't see much of that anymore. The reason is, how is that going to make parents feel? Plus, I do believe stuff's recoverable. And, but yeah, I kind of don't want to shame and hurt parents, if that makes any sense. I don't mind being tough on parents, but yeah, anyway. I yell all the time towards my children. Welcome to the club. Most of my parents do. When I get clients, and I'll always say, okay, let's work on the behavior board if they're 3 and over, not the parents, the kids. Well, the parents have to be anyway too. So, oh, shut up, Lisa. Anyways, so when we're doing the behavior board, the number one rule we usually start with for the parents is no yelling. Every so often, I'll get a client who says, "No, I don't yell," and it throws me off. It's that rare that parents don't yell. I'm like, oh, you don't yell. What do I do with you? You know, it's that common. So yeah, the reason you yell is it works in the moment, but it's short-term pain for long-term gain. It will backfire big time. Okay. But you only do it because you don't know what else to do. I teach you what else to do. I was never yelled at. I never yelled at my kids. We did other stuff. So you're only doing it because you don't know what else to do. I'm here telling you what else to do. So you don't have consequences for a 20-month-old. Under the age of 3, you use consistent corrective actions. So if they do something, you say no and remove the fun or remove fun from them. Remove them from the fun and remove the fun from this. So take a toy away, or if they're playing with something that you can't take away, remove them just for a few minutes or whatever. But you got to be quick. They have to connect the two, and it's repetition, repetition. Might take them 50 times before they learn. Like a toddler will touch a hot stove 10 times, probably not 11. So they haven't learned the second time, but the 11th time they would. Like it's just a knee-jerk reaction. They're not really thinking. It's just more of a knee-jerk, that kind of learning. I don't know. Some of my clients are child psychologists, and they've told me what that is, the type of learning they're doing. It's not a real thought process. It's just you touch a hot stove often enough, you're not going to touch it anymore, but you don't think about it. So that's how toddlers learn. So that's why you use consistent corrective actions right in the moment, but you got to be consistent. They just remember the time you forgot. They just do. I don't know why. They forget everything else that you do right. Kids never forget when you make a mistake. They just don't. I remember once my son was a teenager. He was about 18 or something, and maybe even 20. And we were laughing at all the stupid things I've done as a mother, and I've done a lot of them, believe me, and just, dumb stuff. So we're laughing at all that. And I said to him, and we were just cracking up, oh, remember the time you did that? Remember the time he said, I know what I'll do. And I made this stir fry that the dogs wouldn't even eat. It was so awful. God, I hate cooking. Anyway, it was horrible. We were laughing at all the stupid, dumb things I've done. Then I said to him, well, what did I do well? And he went, what? That's no fun. Yeah, they remember all your mistakes. Okay, I got to go to TikTok now. If you want to join me over there, it's Bratbusters Parenting. If not, check out the link above. You can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, 3 to 12 years old, which is all about you and your leadership. Or you can look into coaching. I've got a wait list for coaching. And anyway, thanks so much for joining me. And I'm heading over to TikTok. I'm on YouTube the whole time that I'm doing my lives. That's where all my lives are saved. Happy parenting. Oops, sorry. TikTok's glitching a little bit. Okay, YouTube. Okay, 2-year-old, 22-month-old having tantrums, just ignore tantrums. I have a mini course on how you ignore a tantrum effectively. Okay. Yeah, just check it out. Check out the tantrum course. It's a mini course. It's in the description on YouTube there. I got grounded sometimes, and I got in timeout when I was in school. I don't believe in grounding or timeout. I don't do either. So I'm not saying that's bad, but I don't teach that at all, especially timeout. Ooh, and actually, I don't like grounding either. Okay, so welcome to my live. I'm on TikTok and YouTube. Welcome to my live. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not new, welcome back. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach, and I'm just here answering your questions as best I can. And if you look in the link above, you can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, 3 to 12 years old. It's all you, It's all I teach parenting. We don't fix kids here. We teach parents, okay? You lead, they will follow. It's a natural instinct for a child to want, need, crave a leader. Okay, so you learn how to do this and they will want to please you. It's just the way it is. Or you can look into coaching. I do have a wait list. I should be able to take 1 or 2 people on tonight. I was just looking at my schedule here. I should be able to take 1 or 2 people on tonight, but I mix up the ages. So it doesn't matter when you sign up. Sometimes I mix up ages. So I might take you on. I know exactly what I'm looking for right now, but I can't tell you that because I've already got some people in there. So I think I'm going to go to the first one in there. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me, and let's get going with your questions. Step parenting advice, I don't give any. The reason is if I give a step parent advice and the biological parent doesn't like it, you see what I mean? I only talk to people who have full custody or parents. Same thing usually. Can you talk more about no timeouts? I hate timeout. I think it's mean. It's humiliating. Imagine if you made a mistake at work and your boss said, you go sit in the corner nose to wall for 36 minutes because you're 36 years old. I had one person on here say, I would love that, a 36-minute break. So much for that advice. Anyway, but yeah, I think timeout's humiliating. I can't stand it. You go over there, you're not even worth talking to. You go sit in the corner. And then you think about what you did. They're not thinking about what they did. They're not learning a darn thing. All they're doing is sitting in the corner feeling like garbage. That's it. And then you go in, then you talk about what they did wrong. It's a disaster. Oh, it's a disaster. I hate it. I just think it's mean. I would never do it to a child. How do I become more patient with my child? It gets easier. You got to work on yourself first. Work on your leadership skills. The kids get easier, then you get more patience. You got to fake it till you make it. I can't help you with that. Parents ask me that every single day. How do I control my own emotions when the kids are driving me nuts? That's your job. You're the adult, okay? I know it's hard. I'm not saying it's easy, but you got to fake it till you make it, okay? If you show that you get mad and upset every time they act out, they're going to keep doing it. Yeah. Let's say you just disciplined a child and you said, okay, so you're going to be doing a chore. Then they fight you. I'm not doing it. Okay, 24-hour media blackout starts now. They have a fit. I hate you. You're rotten. You're awful. I would react like this. I would go, whatever, and then just walk away. There's no way I would allow that to get under my skin. There's no way. Or if it did, I wouldn't let them see it. Just whatever and walk away. The word whatever, I teach this a lot, and there's a very specific way of saying it. It's like that, like whatever, and then just walk away. I had this really cute client. She had a really tiny little sweet voice, and she talked like this. She was very sweet. And I was trying to teach her how to do the whatever, and she would go, oh, whatever, okay then. Like, it was so cute. Like a little munchkin. She was so sweet. And I said, oh, that's horrible. I said, let's work on this. So we went. Finally, she went like this. She goes, whatever. And I said, that's it. That's it. So she practiced in front of the mirror, and her kids were a bit older, like 9 and 10 or something. So they were coming at her after she handed out a media blackout to them. And she goes, I could see them in the window. It was nighttime and she could see their reflection in the window. She turned to them and said, whatever. They'd never heard that tone of voice. And she just went, whatever, and then started walking away. She could see their reflection. She goes, they went like this. They didn't say another word. So the word whatever is just saying, you go on what you want. Doesn't bother me. Go on. Say you hate me. That's fine by me. Doesn't fluster me. You got to work on this, though. You got to practice it. It works. And sometimes clients will say, it's actually quite rare, because when people hire me, they just hire me to learn my method. But every so often I'll get a client who starts quoting other people, but they say this, but they say that. This is what I say to them. I say, let's say you were going to go to Weight Watchers and to try and lose some weight. Would you start saying, yeah, but Jenny Craig does this and they do that? When you pick a path, go with it. We're all of our paths work together as a system. So I'm not the only parenting person out there that knows what I'm doing, but I only teach my method. If you were to start throwing other methods into my system, my methodology, my leadership, it wouldn't work. It's meant to all be used together. So don't mix up other stuff with my stuff. Like, don't mix it. If you were to throw timeout into my leadership stuff, it would tank, because I teach respect. I think it's mean. I wouldn't do it. Timeout, I can't stand it. So, but yeah, you get where I'm saying. So don't try and think, well, pick and choose what you like from different diets and expect it to work. Don't pick and choose what you like from different parenting coaches and expect it to work. It's a package. It's a system. It's meant to be used as a system. Okay. It's like a diet or anything else that you're learning. It's a system. You cannot pick and choose. I do stuff like this the dogs again. Sorry. My neighbor's dogs. I've got to hold off. Oh, good. I think they left. Because my daughter uses my lives for videos. So if dogs are barking, she doesn't want to use it. Okay. Oh, I believe my son would just mimic the whatever if I did that. So go, whatever. And then he mimics it. I would be walking away. And I know what you're going to say. He says that when I'm at every other time, and just let it go. We never address attitude. Attitude is the last thing to correct itself, and it happens organically once you're a leader. You got to earn that. You never address attitude. There's no point. None whatsoever. Yeah, it's the last thing to go. Bad attitude is the last thing to go. That's when you know you're a leader. But how do you address them saying they hate you? Why would you address that? Just ignore it. They're just trying to manipulate you. They're trying to get under your skin. They're trying to fluster you. Just go, whatever. Just, alrighty then. Why would you address that? Why would you address manipulation? Why do you hate me? I love you. I don't, God, it's over. It's over. You're not a leader. Yeah, I would never address that, ever. And they're winning. They don't want to win the battles. They really don't. Don't let them win. If you let that stuff get under your skin, they just won. They're in charge. You're not. They're the leader. You're not. Don't react. Be proactive. You act as a leader. You don't react. Leaders don't react. They act. So yeah, don't let them be the leader. Thank you. My daughter said she hated me for the first time. Yeah, just, oh well, I'll survive. Probably wouldn't even say that. I just go, whatever. I'll tell you, I was talking to a couple families today. This came up, and they were saying, what if they're toddlers and they prefer one parent over the other, or just littlies? And let's say they don't want to do something. So let's say they don't want to have a bath. So dad decides to give them a bath, and then they start up. I want mommy. I want mommy. So what I would suggest you do is dad should say, well, you're stuck with me, like a very final, you're stuck with me. And then if that was me and if my kids had done that, and I heard them saying, I want mom, and dad had said, well, you're stuck with me. Like it's a very final, like I'm in charge, right? I would have yelled out from the other room, you're stuck with dad, just to back them up. Like there's no way I would give into that manipulation. There's no way. They're only doing it because they're trying to get out of something. They're trying to control something. So yeah, if they had said that and asked for mom when I know they're fine and they're just trying to get out of something, I would have said, dad said you're stuck with him and you're stuck with him. Or actually, I wouldn't have said that. I would have said, do you want me to come down the hall and deal with it? And they would have said, no. Oh, I would have given them a bath, probably with a horse brush. Here you go. Like, try and manipulate your parents, will you? I'll teach you. They would have laughed. Do you address their manipulation? Why? Why would you do that? Why would you do that? If you address it, you're giving it attention. You're giving it focus. What you give your attention and focus to is what grows. I treat it like it's a nothing. It means nothing to me. You can't manipulate me. I would never address that. Never. No. I lead. I don't follow. If you address their manipulation, you become the follower. And they win. And they know it. It's an instinctive thing. They're like, oh, it worked. Oh, I got under their skin. Yeah. Don't fall for it. You can give me examples if you want, and I'll tell you what I would do. God, I love it when kids try and manipulate me. My kids didn't do it because they knew there was no point. But if I was working with kids and they'd try, I thought, oh, because I love all this stuff. Because I know I'm getting respect when I do it. and I know the relationship's going to be easier. And so, yeah, I love all that stuff. What do you do instead of timeout? Just keep watching everything else I talk about. What if one parent is the leader and the other one doesn't want to be the leader? There usually is one leader, and the other one's the pleaser, and they defer to the leader. So if the pleaser is out with the kids or something, they can use the leader as leverage. Like my ex-husband, when he had the kids out and they were little, they would try and push him around a little bit. And he would say, I told him, I said, just say, do you want me to tell mom? That's all it took. They'd go, no, never mind. They didn't want, but I never did anything even. Like I was just the leader. And that's okay. It sets him up as a leader too. He's using me as leverage. In other words, we're on the same page. I've got dad's back. Right? And they knew that. So yeah, that's okay. Do you think your style is authoritarian? Not at all. No way. Because I'm on that behavior board too. I'm accountable too. If I messed up, my kids loved it when I messed up. If I said I was going to do something and forgot, this is what they do. They'd look at each other like this. And I'm like, oh, shoot, what did I do? Remember, Mom, you said that you were going to do that and you forgot. And I go, oh, great. What do you want? We'd love to go to the water slide park tomorrow after school. I'd say, okay, I'll bring your suits. You know, it was something like that. So I was accountable. I'm a leader. I'm not an authority. I'm not my way or the highway. I'm accountable. So are you. That's how it is. I'm responsible for my actions, and I'm going to teach you how to be responsible for your actions. Yeah, very different. That's the old-fashioned authority. It's not a bad way to parent because the kids turn out okay, but they will rebel in the teen years often. But they'll come out the other end appreciating what their parents did with them. The new style, pleaser parent, is a disaster. Trying to make everything fun and easy. Participation awards, it's the stupidest thing I ever heard of. Anyway, just turn up and you get an award. You're raising self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues. They're the woke victims of today. That's what you're doing. You're just not doing your kids a favor at all. They never respect you. They're going to rebel when they're little, when they're teenagers, and they'll never respect you. I'm exaggerating, of course, but I teach leadership. Leaders, you can be best friends with your kids, but you're accountable and you're teaching them to be accountable. They're watching you, okay? If they see you being accountable, they're more likely to be accountable. You can be best friends with them right through the teen years, and there's no rebellion. My son was 15, and he kind of wanted to rebel because all of his friends were, and he couldn't. He said, well, I can't rebel. He says, I got nothing to rebel against. You're too reasonable and easy to talk to. He was kind of mad when he said it. I didn't know whether to apologize or celebrate. So I apologized in front of his face, and then I went in the other room and celebrated. So yeah, they don't rebel against a leader because there's nothing to rebel against. I'm accountable too, right? What are the characteristics of a pleaser? How do you stop? A pleaser loves participation awards. They try and make everything easy for their kids. And heaven forbid if their kids get upset and don't like something, they try and make it all better. Heaven forbid. Yeah, it's the pleaser. That's why I call it pleaser. And don't ask me what methods are under that. I've never studied it. I just get it. Like there's just those very two different paths. I'm not either one of those at all. The pleaser tries to avoid a scene. You'll do anything to avoid a scene. I just want them to be happy. But kids of pleaser parents are the most miserable kids by far. Kids of authority parents are much happier, and leaders, they're happy. So yeah, the pleaser parent raises kind of unhappy, insecure, woke victims. That's what you're raising. The entitlement. It's a disaster. You didn't validate my feelings. So I'm just a bus driver lady. Like you don't want your kids to grow up like that. I'll often see adults out there and they'll be acting a certain way. I know exactly how they were parented. I can pretty much pick it up. You know what I always find amazing is when someone's obviously parked illegally and there's these poor ticket people. I always feel so sorry for them. They're doing their job. They're writing up a ticket because the person's breaking the law, right? And the person comes out and starts arguing, even when they know darn well they're wrong. I was just in there for 2 minutes, you so-and-so, and they get nasty. Whoa, I know how they were parented. Yeah. Oh, I can't even imagine acting like that. How humiliating. You're in the wrong and you're fighting it. A police pulls you over because you were speeding and you fight it. Oh, how embarrassing. How tacky. You don't want your kids to turn out like that. You want them to go, sorry, I was speeding. You're right. Give me a ticket. I deserve it. That's what you want. Accountability, responsibility. This is for my daughter because she's going to cringe when she hears this. She watches all my lives to collect my videos, but I gotta go because I drank a lot of Diet Coke before I started, and, and I'm not wearing a diaper, so I have to go. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. My name is Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go in the link above, you can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can look into coaching. I do have a wait list, but I'm planning on taking on a couple of clients tonight. And I mix up the ages, so I never know. Yeah, gotta go. Okay, thanks so much for joining me. Happy parenting. Bye now.